Hello everyone, Skippy here, and welcome to One Piece episode 1000. Directed by Kohei Kareta from his and Ayakomaki's board, and supervised by Chu Young-sa, Keiichi Ichikawa, and Midori Matsuda. It's finally here, the long-awaited 1000th episode of the One Piece anime that everyone was looking forward to. And while some may be confused at what type of content it's covering, there's no doubt in my mind that based off what we can see in the preview and what we know of the staff, that this will be truly great. With the best supervisor on the series currently Chu Young-sa co-supervising the episode with Chief Animation Supervisor Keiichi Ichikawa and character designer Midori Matsuda, and the groundwork being laid for it with the storyboard by co-series director Kohei Kareta and former co-series director Ayakomaki, the latter of whom has been missing in action for quite a while. And given Kareta's track record on numerous fantastic episodes, especially in Wano, it'll all certainly be executed very well by the man himself above all else. With the possibility of animators both rather new and indebted to the series participating to make it a real big celebration of sorts, will episode 1000 knock it out of the park like we all expected to for such a momentous occasion? Well, let's gather around and find out. This episode covers pages 11 through 16 of chapter 989 and the first 4 pages of chapter 990. And with some rearranging so as to place the stuff from 990 before everything else instead of after, giving so much time to even that content out than the manga did by showing Neko and Ino's Sulan forms full on and improper action now, this episode is giving more than enough time and space to soak in the atmosphere of it all being an absolute celebration of sorts for both this series and the Straw Hat crew in so many different ways. Extending any last bit of character interactions and action to add a whole nother layer on top of it all to make it so damn fun and emotional, as well as to just show how far the crew has all come in much more meaningful ways than the manga did. Adding entirely new action sequences with everyone before the big Straw Hat spread that play to their abilities and personalities very well, while also giving us a glimpse of each member's past to further that feeling of wow, we've really gotten this far. Couple that with some fun dialogue as well between everyone during that big spread moment that once again reiterates just how charming and lovable our main cast is, all before we get an absolutely sweet and touching thank you message from the staff that tops it all off quite nicely. Usually with episodes that cover as much as this, you'd think that it would end up suffering from severe pacing issues and shoehorned in flashbacks. But the canon content managed to flow so expertly well despite that, and the flashbacks were actually very well placed and chosen, and made sense for what this episode is at its core and what the manga chapter should have been. So I'm extremely happy with what the end result ended up being. With Kareta and Komaki at the helm of the board, it was obvious that we should have expected an absolute banger. And I must say that both our co-series directors, current and former, really knocked it out of the park in so many areas and heightened their own usual traits to a degree that only makes sense for this monumental moment. With the scale and the depth of field on both sides really being put to the test and making it feel like a truly well done portrayal of this huge battle more than ever, along with the sheer amounts of ideas and creativity shining through in such uncompromised ways that I can just feel how much fun they both had putting it all together like I did with Suzuki last episode. From the bright and bombastic docking transformation with Frankie Shogun that is only focused on being as poppy and vibrant as can be with its stylish backgrounds, to the roll call of the Straw Hats and their bounties, as well as the cute little transitions into each crew member's set of flashbacks that only add to the character colors being on full display during it, Kareta and Komaki took every single last little measure to make sure that this episode didn't feel unworthy of being the 1000th or anything of the sort. Fine-tuning shots every which way to make things pop even when the animation might not be going too full throttle, which shows the insane amount of care that was poured into both halves. And when it finishes all with that trademark Kareta letterbox aspect ratio as the Straw Hats ready up, and Luffy quite literally rips through an imaginary purple Kaido to signify that he swears he'll defeat the giant cow gorilla, I'm left fanboying all over again for what was truly a premium storyboard of which this episode more than deserved. Before the episode itself is even allowed to get moving quite literally, we're actually treated to a remake of the first opening for this series, We Are, directed by star regular Yasunori Koyama, that features quite a number of cool cuts within itself as well. From the smaller work done by folks like Chu Young-seo, 978's Ista, and more that recreate legendary moments from said opening and create new ones as well, to the incredibly snappy and visceral Straw Hat action put on display by the fucking monster himself, Takeshi Maenami, that is the single best piece of action in any One Piece opening, no joke, no questions asked. After finishing off with some loose but true to the original opening cuts from Akiko Tsukizano and surprise appearance by Takashi Kojima, we're then launched into the episode proper, and oh boy, there's really a lot here. So much so that it's honestly hard to know where to start. As not only is this an episode that features animation from so many of the series alumni from the literal first episode to now, with all the current supervisors besides Keita Saito taking part and getting to animate some of the Straw Hat action themselves or just any action, but it's also chock full of a lot of the regular and semi-regular Sakuga and action powerhouses on the show that do everything surrounding the old guard absolute justice. Whether it be as short as Henry Thurlow's shading heavy but creature-packed scene that Chu Young-seo seems to have corrected the timing of, or Naotoshi Shida's usual crazy and rip-roaring flowy action that no matter how ridiculous it might get, everybody loves, there's just so much cool animation here to talk about that even above all that, Chu and his friends like Junwo and Tan still somehow managed to take the cake amongst everything else. It's just chock full of talent that perfectly represents the staff on the show all the way from Shingaki to Sukizono. And I think that really does give this episode an edge on the visual side of things, because it just feels ceremonious to see animators from all over the show work super hard to produce something cool for us to watch, and not have it be compromised so it can truly come off the way it was meant to be presented, as a labor of love for the series and its characters as well as its fans. Each Straw Hat, hell, each character just gets something extremely cool, even if it's something so simple as a little 1000 cloud in the aftermath of Usopp's attack. And when we once again run back to that final scene from Huang Shenxi, that perfectly brings our characters to life so well through some fantastic weight and inertia as well as fabric animation, I don't think I can really truly describe my gratitude to the staff in words, even if I'm writing them in a script. This really was everything that I had hoped it would be, and so much more, thanks to the incredible and dedicated staff behind it all that made sure every last bit of it was as polished as can be, so it can manage to reach its fullest potential. And while it may not be a 957 or 982, there's still a true and rapidly beating heart at the core of this episode that overwhelms me with so much emotion and feelings for this series that I love and hold so dearly in my own heart. To the One Piece staff, both old, new, and current, thank you so very much. It's been one hell of a ride, and this crazy train will certainly not be stopping anytime soon, and I'm all for that. Anyways, guys, that's it for now. I'm Skippy, and hey, yeah, how about that film Red? Am I right?